Welcome to the Bright Side Home Theater. No sounders here. What are we doing? Oh, happy Thanksgiving again. Thank you, Rob. Last minute, Rob brings us in. If you listen to the audio only one, right in the room, I'm going to go around the room. There's myself, John, at John Ciccone on Twitter, my buddy and co-host. We have Andrew from AV Gadgets. He's at the top of the
screen. It's a hard
screen.
one. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
All right, we're going to go down to the middle because he couldn't wait his turn. Let Andrew say hi. Andrew, why don't you say hi, buddy?
Hey, everybody.
There we go. Tom, you'll get your turn. Lee Overstreet on the bottom left corner at Tesla Lusa on Twitter.
Most of the socials, yeah.
There you go. Next to him in the middle square, we have Tom. If you don't know who he is, what are you listening to this show for? Yeah. Host of AV Rant. And then the bottom right corner, we have my buddy, Rob H., AV Rant Podcast co-host. Rob, get rid of co-host.
It's true, though.
We're
co-hosts.
I know.
Tom and I.
You're a host. But yes, so Rob, thank you very much for putting this together, for grabbing us all together. Because,
for sure.
Notice he called me his co-host when he introduced me, though.
No, yeah. Don't worry.
Because I'm a co-host.
There's a hierarchy. Rob,
I
knows.
see.
Hey, well, you can do it. It's like
Tom does have tenure. He's been here the longest out of any of us as far as podcasting goes. But I have to say, welcome back, everybody. It is our annual, happy that it is continued to be annual Thanksgiving podcast crossover event. This year, we are calling it Thankful Across the Podcast Verse, because I'm just not that clever this year. I'm like, there was one really obvious multiverse title to use, so not gonna ignore it. That's what we're gonna take.
Yeah, but, last year's was really good. We kind of fell into that one, the everything everywhere all at once.
We're going to have to see what comes out next year. There's going to be something. I don't think the third Spider-Verse movie is going to make it next year anymore. I think they had to delay that thing into 2025. So fingers crossed there'll be another multiverse. But missing the HT guys once again this year. It just doesn't work out as far as schedules and all that go. That's how it happens sometimes. And, it's like get into what we're a third of the way through November already as we're recording this. Tried to get it in the can ahead of time, but that's just how it goes. So our best wishes to R and Braden over there, but we're happy to welcome in here. We're happy to welcome Andrew in last year, and he's here again with us from AV Gadgets. And then John, your co-host over there at Brightside Home Theater Podcast, haven't talked to you on AV Rant before. So to our audience, there's a chance you're new. We have a lot of listeners who cross over between our two podcasts, but we can't count on a certainty that it's literally everybody. So John, for our AV Rant listeners, why don't you introduce yourself a little? And then, as is tradition for every new guest on AV Rant, we have to know what gear is in your home theater. It is an absolute must.
It's a must. All right. Well, like you said, glad to be here. My name is John. I started with DJ as co-host of the Brightside Chat podcast, and then moved over here with him and Steve to Brightside Home Theater. So that's the extent of my podcasting credentials.
Works for us.
But yeah, as far as gear goes, so I don't have a traditional, I don't have a dedicated home theater in my home at this point. I'm running everything out of my living room. And when you see some of the gear I have, you'll realize how much I appreciate my wife for letting me do this. So I run the AWOL 3500 ultra short throw projector paired with 123 inch Elite screens, which is on the wall in my living room, as I said. I run for video source. For movie source, I run the Panasonic UB820 Blu-ray player. I have a Denon AVRX 6500 for my AVR, and that's paired with the Emotiva BassX A3 for my LCR speakers.
Okay.
So yeah, I get a little bit of power in there.
Tom's on board. He's just like, living room setup, got to have that separate amp.
Yeah, I have to. For speakers, I run all Klipsch setup. So I have two 8000F
even more
speakers. Yeah. 504C center channel speaker and 4 R51M surround speakers. Those are also paired with 4 Yamaha in-ceiling Atmos speakers.
Okay.
2 SVS PC 2000 subs.
Nice.
Along with 1 SVS SB12. So I'm a little uneven at this point. I can't figure out where to fit a 4th sub in my living room yet.
Just more seating.
Yeah.
Yep. More
do have
cylinders, you can sit on them eventually. You just
John's
lay
one of
them
the
down.
few people. John's one of the few people that like we all talk about like open floor plans and trying to even out the base. John's got like an open neighborhood plan, and he's trying to hit them all.
All the neighbors on both sides know when I'm watching a movie. That's sweet. I've gone outside to test it, and I know that for a fact. So let's see. I do have a mini DSP running the subs that I did have calibrated, and that's about it. I run a Apple TV and Harmony Hub for my remote.
There you go. Are we all Harmony owners here? Did that we still all got our Harmonies going. Oh man. What are we going to do when that database eventually stops working?
Andrew, aren't you on the are you using Harmony again?
I have a Harmony, but I also have the Sofa Baton running in parallel. So I'm doing like a long-term test. But my wife really likes the Harmony and my kids really like the Harmony. So it's just so simple for them to do because I have my Harmony integrated into my Google Home. So they can just talk to the Google and turn everything on. And they become so accustomed to that. It's hard to get them to switch over to just a basic remote. But, I use the X1 all the time.
Yeah. I mean, none of us are getting rid of those Harmonies just yet. So, look, before we get into our traditional what we're thankful for and everything, I mean, we haven't had this group together in a while. We got to catch up just a little bit. I want to come to DJ first because just how the heck are you? Have you like managed to get your sleep pattern back in check? Because it wasn't that long ago you did a wild. If you're listening to this on Thanksgiving, it was like I don't know 2/3 of a month ago, but you did a wild entire 25-hour-long marathon podcast. So are you okay, DJ? That's what we really need to know.
Yeah, it's funny when you started to ask, like when you just said, I want to go to DJ. I went, how you doing? I'm like, we just talked the other day. What do you mean?
But it's recording time.
I know.
We must
pretend. I'm sorry. Yes, I am doing great. I'm doing great. It was fun. And yes, I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
And Lee, how the heck are you? You've been like shockingly quiet down there in that bottom corner as I'm looking at you on my screen.
I have to remind myself, remember, I have a radio background, so I'm always like, let people talk, let people talk, let people talk.
Yes, so we're so formal around here.
Well, I know, but I will just yammer on and on. But I'm fine. I mean, it's a little bit of a stress giving instead of Thanksgiving around here. My dad's still in the hospital, and that's kind of that's a bit of a downer. He's not doing great. But other than that, I am quite thankful that I'm fine. My wife is fine. Everybody else around me. So there's a lot of bright points too. I mean, nothing's going terrible in my life. So, all right.
You hang in there.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Tom, it's a surprise that we're seeing you on video during this because hopefully, fingers crossed, by the time Thanksgiving actually rolls around, you'll be able to like be back in your theater full time. But we're happy to see you video form.
But there is, so you're seeing me on a terrible camera at a terrible angle because I'm just kind of shoved up in the corner of my home theater. That's my bathroom door. But I do get a little piece of artwork there. Andrew's wife painted that. So, that's
was a beautiful.
That's a nice little. I put it up a little bit so you can see that.
Yeah, for anyone who might not know.
Yes, my house was slightly flooded during the last hurricane that rolled through Florida, and there's like 2.5 feet of drywall cut out of this room from like about half the room, and everything's shoved into a corner. So, as far as I know, on Friday, we're signing the last of the paperwork, and then we have to wait maybe for permits. I don't know why we would need permits just to put things back the way they were, but there might be some permits required, and then they should get. We've already made all the decisions and paid all the money, so we're just waiting for them to start. So hopefully by Thanksgiving, I'll have a home theater again.
Yes, indeed. Fingers crossed. And
wasn't that your goal last year, Rob?
Yeah,
Were you the same way? You were trying to beat Thanksgiving
we can commiserate.
last year, right?
Yeah, mine wasn't a natural disaster. Mine was a man-made caused disaster with a drain pipe that got burst. But yeah, we can commiserate similar situations getting kicked out of our theaters due to water being where it should not be.
No.
Water's very, very useful and necessary, but not inside of a home theater on the furniture and the floor. But Andrew, just round us out here. How the heck are you? And hopefully you've got something you can be thankful for this year as well.
Well, I'm thankful that all of the stuff that befell Canada and my particular province missed me. We had wildfires in the spring, which took out, a number of houses in the surrounding area. And then we had torrential rain, unprecedented rainfall for our area. And we had flooding. Again, luckily, it all missed me. And then I finally decided this year to go out and buy a generator because I'm tired of hurricanes knocking out my power. And the one tropical storm that we had completely missed us. So I tell everybody to be thankful because I bought a generator. So therefore, there was no need for the power to go out because I was finally prepared for it.
Hey, that's not a bad trade-off to make. I'd take that any day.
Yeah. Expensive insurance.
No
Because it'll
kidding.
never get used.
So I guess I should just say, I'm quite thankful that I think everything with my family and that has held quite steady this year. Got aunts who are elderly now and need a little bit of extra care. Everybody's settled in, gotten into a routine and all that. So very thankful for that. Just having that sort of stability is a big deal. So that's really nice. So. Glad. I mean, most of all, we're glad we can all get together here. We're always thankful for that. Kind of tremendous with everything that's going on. We're able to carve out a little bit of time and have some fun, talk about home theater in a crossover type of way. So why don't we dig right on into that? We're going to start up with separating out, over at AV Gadgets, Andrew and Tom, they're doing quite a few product reviews and taking care of the hardware side of things. I mean, they take care of every aspect of home theater writing over there, but we do have the hardware side of things as a particular forte. So we're going to start with the hardware we're thankful for, not necessarily something that we own or even necessarily intend on buying ourselves, but just what happened this year in hardware that we're thankful to have seen in the home theater space there. So Andrew, I'll start with you. What's on your list that you're thankful for hardware wise?
Well, one of the things I'm really thankful for is the NVIDIA Shield and the fact that it keeps getting updates year after year. And even the original two, the 2015, 2017, they're still receiving updates from NVIDIA. Still the king of the streaming box as far as being able to handle any codec that you throw it at or throw at it. It's still the best. I'm going to say it's the best Plex client that you can get out there. For pass-through, for Atmos, for DTSX. And the fact that, you have, and I'm not going to slam Apple, but Apple will only support their boxes for so long before they say they're obsolete and they get so slow that they sort of go to the wayside. And you have a company that, people are clamoring. If you read any of the forums, people are saying, when's the next NVIDIA coming out? And they're willing to throw down the $250 Canadian, probably $200 American for that thing without question. And I'm one of them. As soon as it comes out, I'll be buying it. So I'm thankful that you have companies that are still willing to support their hardware for such a long period of time, especially for home theater nerds, because that's an integral part of a lot of people's setups when they get into Atmos and object-based surround, because it's the only one that does it really, really well comparatively, to the rest of the boxes.
Yeah, for Plex, I might say inarguably the best choice, because I'm like, you go down the list of all the other major streamers out there and there's like, there's something that it doesn't check the box. So I'm in total agreement there. You've got another thing on your list there though, Andrew.
I do. So I've recently gotten a PB 1000 Pro from SVS, and I had a PB 1000 and I decided I wanted to upgrade because it's got an app and 12-inch woofer. And it's funny, Tom and I talked about this when I did another review about how the app is a quality of life thing. It's not necessary and, you can do without it, but having it is a lot of fun. And I am a tinkerer. So having an app that I can sit on my sofa and raise my gain and play stuff, because when you do Rob's 12-step subwoofer guide, you got to do a lot of tinkering. See, Lee still has nightmares about it.
It is. I still get a facial tick thinking about the 12-step.
PTSD.
How difficult that was, and how in the end, all I needed was tiny adjustments from the receiver, and I could have just not done all that. It's good to know. It's kind of like you want to know how to build a fire just in case.
Well, you don't want to wake up in the middle of the night and say, did I miss something?
Right.
Could I just gain a little bit more from my subwoofer because I, skipped step number 6?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
it's an experience.
I want to ask Rob publicly, when you wrote that,
Yes.
was that more like, did you just want to tell people how to do those 12 steps, or was that more of a sales pitch to buy 2 and place them properly and you don't have to do any of this?
Oh, it was no sales pitch, because
you guys say that all the time, and I'm like, that's why I bought 2 way back when. As I'm like, because we used to do all that stuff, and I'm like, it's just so much, and that's worth to me. That's worth the money right there, and it's like,
oh yeah,
No, if you've never done the 12 steps. Everybody should at least once.
I
right?
will never do the 12 steps. There is no
don't.
world
You've
in
done
which I do those
crawls
12
though,
steps.
Tom, right?
I mean, not really. No.
Come on, we all did it. It was like.
There was very little point, and I've had, when you have 2 or 3 locations in your theater, you just slap it down there and go, okay, well, let's try the other one.
Yes.
I've never had a subwoofer that was one of the so big that you needed a dolly to move it, though.
Yeah, to answer the question that DJ asked, I do have Rob's 12-step guide to dual subwoofer setup, or setting up dual subwoofers, which actually has a fairly decent SEO. You can find that if you just search for exactly that title. But yeah, the reason it came up, Tom and I were answering very similar questions about dual subwoofer setup on AV Rant quite frequently,
over and over and over.
And honestly, we still do to this day, and we don't mind it whatsoever. Yeah. That's part of what we do over there. Is if somebody wants to ask or just needs it to be explained again in a slightly different way, we're happy to do that. We never wanted to be the ones to say, read the history, read the notes.
Right.
That's never what we're going to do. But it was just a matter of, it was simply, what do you do if you aren't measuring it? Like, you don't have a measurement microphone and you're not going to look at graphs. What do you do if you can't set up your room optimally, or your room is not an enclosed rectangle? And that covers a whole lot of people. And I was just like, well, this is the method. And I just wanted to organize it in something that seemed like, I know it's a little bit daunting, but at the same time, somewhat approachable and understandable. So just break it down to a step-by-step process. And honestly, the thing to stress there, if you're coming to it new, you might only need the first 4 steps. It is clearly delineated that you very well might be able to stop at step 4. Lee could have, but he didn't because he's thorough.
Well, I was thorough, and also I had these nice SVS subwoofers to review and to talk about and experience, and so I wanted to be accurate. But yeah, I was. It was like a cruel joke because I was lucky that my room and where I decided to place the subwoofers based on what we had been talking about, what you guys have been talking about, I put them in what was most likely the best position. And it was really good. And so all the steps, I felt like I was being gaslighted by the 12 steps. Like, now you'll hear this difference. No, I didn't hear any difference when I changed that. So it's because I got lucky, and exactly where I put the subwoofers is where they are to this day. I didn't know.
We can call it luck, Lee. When you put it in the place where we told you it would probably be the best place to put it, that's not what we call luck. That's called, we know what the heck we're talking about.
That's true,
you
but
just
there's
have
a
not
lot of
believed
person
us
that wrote the
from day
manual
one.
told you where to put them in the first place, and you're like, lucky it worked.
There's a lot of variables, right? Our room is not perfect. There's a whole foyer on one side, and we don't have perfect room treatments, and so things could have gotten weird. I didn't have any bass traps, but I was just surprised at how well it went. So
just imagine if it were a measurement guide and you were looking at the graphs and you could see the squiggles that you can't hear. Imagine what Lee might have done in that situation.
That would have been interesting. Yeah.
Somebody send him a measurement mic so we could watch him absolutely melt down.
For sure. Yeah. Oh yeah. We can get in touch with Herb about that.
Really tweak the OCD. Yeah. Let's do it.
But let's come over to John. John, what are you thankful for hardware-wise in your home theater? Or not necessarily in your home theater, just out in the home theater world hardware-wise this year?
Well, it is actually in my theater. I'm going to shout out my projector and AWOL, the company that obviously produced it.
What a choice of name.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
So I was a Kickstarter backer for this. So I got this early on, and I was one of the first people to have this. This thing came to market about 18 months ago. And similar to what Andrew was talking about with NVIDIA in like continued product support, like I just have to shout out AWOL for continuing to improve their product after release. There's been 3 major firmware updates to that projector since it's come to market. 2 of them this year, pretty significant. So they added 3D support at the end of last year, which was a big update. This year, they rolled out an enhanced black level feature, which was also very significant. And then we just got Dolby Vision about a month and a half ago. So, I mean, above and beyond what we thought we were getting when we bought it.
Yeah, those aren't just like little minor tweaks to the firmware.
Yeah.
That's some pretty significant feature
Major.
upgrades coming that way.
I feel like you could just put out an update that
them,
says 3D on it and not actually do anything, and nobody would be able to test it anyways, and that'll be the end of that. So
I've watched 2 movies in 3D. I did buy glasses, and I have a couple of movies. It's fine. It's not my thing, though. So that was an update that came and went, and I wasn't super... I wasn't upset, but I wasn't really thankful for it. But the enhanced black level and the Dolby Vision have been very nice upgrades. Now, again, Dolby Vision was promised at launch, and so you can argue it took them a long time to get there, but it did come. And but the enhanced black level, that came out of nowhere. I mean, that wasn't promised to anybody. It was just something they developed, and I think it's great. And I don't know what they're going to continue to do, but it's been really
as
good.
long as you can be faster than Yamaha on delivering on a promised feature, you're winning the race there. That's
a very slow race. That's a very low bar to clear.
Yeah. Well, again, 18 months for
clear
Dolby. 18 months was a long time to wait for certification.
18 months.
Yeah.
That's light speed in Yamaha time.
Yeah.
You did a lot of research too, John, right? Like before you even
did. I actually had
getting into that idea.
I was a backer for the Vava Chroma first, and that's the one I was going to go with. And then I stumbled upon the AWOL, and luckily was able. The only way I was able to get out of the Vava Chroma is that they didn't meet their dates for release. I mean, they were super late.
Nobody on Kickstarter ever does.
They didn't, but it was enough. It was enough that I was able to get a refund for that before they shipped it. And I was able to put the money towards the AWOL. And actually, the thing that swung it for me was the promise of the Dolby Vision. And, because it was a little bit higher price point, but, it looked like a better machine. And so that's what I ended up with.
I'm glad they eventually did come through. That is good.
Yeah, they did.
So let's swing on over to DJ up there. If we're watching the video version up in the top left corner. What's going on hardware-wise that you're thankful for this year, DJ?
I'm going to go with my SVS speakers. Upgrading this year and switching over to SVS was a lot more.
Would you switch from?
My NHTs.
Yeah.
I had the C series, and then
no slouch.
No. And that, Rob, that's what shocked me is that, from my understanding ahead of time and what I knew was like NHT is a really good speaker. Basically, the sales pitch that you hear or everything you hear about SVS is what I heard about NHT back in the 90s. And whenever I said, like anybody would tell me, including you guys, right? And be like, I wrote into you guys before I had a podcast and I said, I'm thinking of getting an upgrade here. And one of them was, well, you're starting off with NHTs, so it's going to be hard. You're looking for something neutral. It's going to be hard to do anything in that price range. And then I think Tom, you said RBH. And it was like, it was a significant price difference, but that's where you're going to hear the difference, right? So with that mindset, I've had my NHTs I've been into the NHT universe for 20 something years. And getting the SVSs, I knew I'm going to the new theater and the new house. So I'm like, I'm going to try this new thing. And well, I bought the front stage and they were sitting outside my theater and one of my speakers, my NHT speakers kind of crapped out. It tore. So I had to do a switch really quickly, and I didn't want to. I was going to do a comparison with everything and do it all right, and have fun and hear the differences. Well, I had to do the switch because I got a podcast to do, boys. You know, you got content to make.
Yep.
And so I did the switch, and just the front stage alone, I was blown away at the difference.
That should be the most significant, to be fair, because if all you did was swap out your surround backs.
Well, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Now, to be fair, I already had two PB 2000s, and I'd had those for years in my room, centered front and rear appropriately, just so Tom doesn't get mad at me. Not stacked in the corner.
I don't care if you have bad sound. It's completely up to you.
So yeah, just changing out the front stage I went to SVS Ultra's bookshelves and Ultra Center, and went to my Andrew, my boy over there on the other end of the line here, other way. Went to Star Wars, New Hope, and and John in the middle with all his Star Wars gear there. But went to Star Wars, A New Hope as my first demo, and the horns, the drums, everything, the higher frequencies were just the details that I was hearing in this, 1977 remastered multiple times to make people angry track was awesome. Right. And then I start going through my other stuff, my Terminator stuff that I do. And then I go into modern stuff like Maverick, and I'm seeing, and this is stuff I've heard over and over at that point. And I couldn't do an AB, but how much brighter, and I hate to say that because I know SVS is a more neutral sounding speaker, but it was just the clarity that I was getting out of these. And then it's that effect. I've never gone in this direction where I've added subs to my room before where everything seems to get clearer because you're taking the weight away from those speakers. My bass sounded better because and the other reason is, the SVS Ultras are rear ported. So I had a concern there because mine are kind of in a cabinet. And so I called SVS and I went through their help desk, the service, and they were like, oh, you shouldn't have a problem. I described my cabinets and everything. I have sound treatments in the cabinets, and they're fairly large. And he goes, look, most people are putting these things into entertainment centers, or they're putting them right up against the wall. You're going to be fine. And I also suggested what my idea was. I'm like, I cross these things over now at 100 hertz so that I wouldn't, to help with any bloating that you might get out of that rear. And he goes, you might not even have to do that. Try it, whatever. So I crossed over at 100, never looked back. It's absolutely amazing. Then I added, because I was so blown away, I was like, I got to finish the room off. And I added the rest of the room, and the clarity you got and the separate, like, it brought the room to another level.
Even your wife noticed from the kitchen, right?
No. Oh, no. It's all same to her. She's like, the floor's vibrating, crap's moving. Sorry. Yeah, we have that. Yeah. I did not design the room appropriately for soundproofing back in 2001. I don't think they even had like all the soundproofing stuff that we can use today. But the only thing I can think, and now that you guys are sitting here, meaning Tom, Rob, and Lee, and Andrew, I got all AV Rant sitting right here. The only thing I could think is SVS is probably still considered a neutral speaker, but they're just hitting those frequencies a little bit better. And is it possible that at 53 years, no, not Rob, at 53 years old, this is what those NHCs sounded like when I was 25. And it's my hearing that might have degraded, but the SVSs are just hitting it. They're allowing me to hear those frequencies better.
You went to the Ultras, which are a pretty pricey speaker, and they might have a more extension, better transient response. I mean, you could be hearing some things. There could be some significant differences between them. I mean, there's also going to be the psychological aspect of just trying out something new and really listening more than you were really listening before. That happens a lot. So
and
doing
the
that
setup
A/B
factor can never overlook the positioning factor, because I mean, there's guaranteed to be some subtle change to that. Because
not only that, but then you rerun Odyssey. Odyssey is going to be a little bit different. You know, there's or whatever your room.
Oh, should I have rerun Odyssey?
The same.
And download it.
Well, I mean, honestly, if DJ going from NHT speakers to SVS speakers and you're noticing a difference that you consider that worthwhile, we better not introduce you to, like, I don't know, Revel Performa BEs or like Focal, you know, upper end Focals or like Ascends LX speakers. It's going to drive you mad.
No, it won't. It won't. I am going to. My idea was to demo, and one of them was Focal and Kef. I was going to same price range. All right. And I want to demo, and I am going to do that. I'll bring them in. And I even bought all the gear to do like the AB quickly with the speakers. And so I want to be able to push a button, switch from one speaker to the next, and then set my scenes up. So I have that all set up, and I do still want to do that. And a listener actually had a good idea. I think it was Johnny Speakers, if I remember right. And he's like, see if you can demo a pair for your front stage that's like $2,000 a speaker, but it's supposed to be neutral, and see what you hear. Like, how different is that? Even though you're not going to keep it, because I can't afford that, right? But just to maybe learn the difference. And my guess is it would be like a literal, like that's where we're getting into diminishing returns. And I've had people in my room that heard the NHTs, and some people that haven't heard them, and come in and go, well, you're done. What are you demoing anything for? This is amazing, right? And I'm like, well, I do like the toy, but I don't know what to expect, but I think this NHT thing was a big deal.
Don't set yourself up to be like, this is what it's going to be, because it's very easy to make yourself hear it if that's the case, even unconsciously, right? Even if it's not.
Well, if you're doing the AB the way I have it, and you're doing blind testing, which is what I want to do, that's what I want to be able to go, which one did I prefer, and it's, and be able to justify that. And hey, if I preferred the one that's $2,000, that's fine. I'm still I can't afford that, but at least now I know what the difference is,
Yeah, you can be like me. Bring in some Ascends.
This conversation though, when after he does the test, and then he comes and tells us how
I can't justify it, Tom. Anything else? Come at me. I can justify it. I couldn't justify $2,000.
I know a lot of people who own a lot of bikes who can't justify owning another one, and
that's
somehow,
right.
And we've talked about that, and they're crazy. They're crazy.
Well, let's make our way over to Lee now here. Lee, what are you thankful for hardware-wise in the year 2023?
Well, still thankful for what's in the home theater. The OLED is the greatest invention since the plasma, of course, and I still love it. And I still really love those SVS subwoofers, the SB2000 Pros. They're amazing. But I haven't bought much new lately. I've been pondering, but haven't bought any major thing new. And I was teased last year about enjoying my dinky little speakers in the kitchen. And this year, the piece of hardware I bought that I love, it's a boom box that's sitting on the back of a toilet in there right now. And let me tell you why I like it. It's a Sony big honkin' XG500, I think is the model number. And it's like a classic boombox, handle on top format, right? But it's the modern version of a boombox that my wife bought in 1993 that was also a Sony. Almost the same size and weight, but no cassette player and no CD player. It's just a Bluetooth speaker, right? Actually, it has inputs on the back for microphones and for auxiliary. You can plug a lot of stuff into it. But I just love it because, right. And I love it when you buy a thing that you didn't realize you wanted, and it works like it's supposed to, and it sounds good. So the reason it's sitting on the back of the toilet is because that's my getting ready music, and it is such overkill.
Getting ready to do what?
Is it the going music?
DJ.
Who invited him to this podcast? Let me
Look at this. This takes work,
Can we
DJ.
rescind the invitation
Do you
here?
think my hair does this right when I get up? Actually, it does.
It should by now.
It knows what to do. I just tap my fingers and it sticks straight up. It's such overkill. I've had so much fun because by the time you're taking a shower in the tile shower stall, it's like a bass enhancement chamber and it's just like rattling my head. And it's kind of fun, honest to God. And I use it also when I do things like outside where I want some music, if I'm raking leaves or washing the car. And I don't know, man, I'm just so happy to have that little thing and it just does what I want it to. And is that weird to enjoy a new boombox? I've had a great time. Oh, and the battery.
Weird that the last 3 stories I've told about you involve bathrooms. I don't understand how that keeps coming up.
That's right. Tom tried to blame my wife on his plumbing problems.
Wow.
And I'm like,
that was great.
Correlation does not equal causation, but there was a lot of correlation there.
No, she's so little. She can't destroy things. And I went in there before she did, by the way. So let's keep that in mind.
I was just going to call Tom if I didn't know if he had his phone and just be like, is he seriously talking about the bathroom?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. But so the battery on this boombox is amazing. I've had it for months and months, and I've charged it twice.
Okay,
like
that is pretty impressive.
Overkill on the battery. It's not the greatest sounding thing in the world. It kind of has that sort of like Beats by Dre, too much muddy bass sound to it.
Nice.
Because you can't buy a Bluetooth speaker that doesn't sound like that unless you're buying like higher end
room treatments.
In the bathroom.
You have not read my reviews of Bluetooth speakers then, because I definitely reviewed them that don't have a flooded bass
in a boombox format with a handle I can carry to the beach.
I don't care
that I can get wet outside. I don't know.
Care.
I'm telling you.
At this point, it's just going to end up in the bathroom anyways. I mean, who knows?
The question is, can you hold it nicely with 2 hands above your head?
Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
And say anything?
Yeah, I could do the say anything trick and hold it and play in your eyes. It is exactly that size.
See?
All right, because doing that with a Sonos Move just doesn't have the same impact.
No, that's not cool. But this thing is
above your head there.
Yeah, this is the right format. And I'm telling you, it's just fun to have a thing that did what you want and it just works. And I never have to charge it hardly. It's just great. It's good fun. It replaced a classic boombox. So there you go.
Nice. Well, Tom, what are you thankful for hardware-wise this year?
Well,
and is it in your bathroom?
It is not, thank God. It's a little too big for that. But I will, as we were talking, one of the things that came to mind, and I almost don't want to say it because I feel like saying it will make it stop happening. But the fact that the harmonies are still working is actually something I am thankful for. And I'm looking over at my harmony, which has been unplugged for like 2 months now, and it's dead as a doornail, I'm sure. And I'm just wondering if it's going to charge again. Ever. You know what I mean? I've got that kind of dread, existential dread that happens when you let your electronics die for too long.
You can still find the replacement batteries for them, so there's a good chance.
So this year for me has been there's been a lot of technology like that has come out or that is coming out that are being developed that has got me excited, and they're not necessarily related to home theater specifically, like the James Webb Telescope and all the stuff we're learning there, that sort of thing. That sort of science always very much interests me. Oh, yeah. But the thing that we talked about recently on the podcast was the MEMS, which is they're using it to do cooling, and amplifiers are using it to maybe become transducers in headphones. And it's nice that for like the first time in what seems to me to be a very many years, we're talking about new types of drivers in headphones. And
just to clarify for anyone who might not know, MEMS stands for micro electromechanical systems. So it's instead of having magnets that are used with something that's electrified to make it vibrate, these are just built like silicon chips and vibrate directly when a current is applied to them. So they're a solid state device. There's no spinning things. There's no like hinges or anything like that. It's kind of like the way a quartz crystal vibrates when an electrical current is applied. So it's a solid state device, no magnets, and an advancement there, being able to utilize those.
Yeah, you can go to the AV Rant Podcast, and I think we talked about it at the end of October, beginning of November. So it's in the show notes, and you can we address that. But seeing that sort of new technology come out and knowing that they're still coming up with new ways of producing sound and new ways of discovering things. Science, quantum computing seems to be, I mean, like a year ago, they're like, I don't know, maybe 20 years. And this year they're like, yeah, we kind of did it. Yeah, it was like, I'm like,
perpetually 5 years away.
Yeah. I mean, we're not done doing it, but we kind of did it a little bit, and that's like way more than we expected. So to see the kind of technological advances we've seen this last year, to me has been very exciting. So that's what I'm thankful for.
All right. Well, I will round out this section. Nobody else mentioned it, so I'm going to say not that I own one, not that I necessarily intend to purchase one because I really don't have the physical space to do so, but we saw several 98 and 100-inch flat panels this year that I obviously not cheap, but $4,000, $5,000 for a 98 or 100-inch. And these aren't like raggedy, bottom of the barrel, as cheap as you could possibly make an LCD TV. Like, these are at least high mid to high end, nearly flagship type of performance, but at that screen size. These commonly, those were $15,000, $20,000 like a couple of years ago. Seeing those come down to like, you can just go buy one for like $4,000. That means there's a real question. If you need like 100-inch screen size, like, do you go with a projector, or you do spend like $4,000 or $5,000 for a flat panel? And in most situations, I'm going to go flat panel when that's the case. So I'm thankful to see that price come down. That's a huge advancement in my opinion. And the other one is over in OLED land. LG brought out that G3 series this year with the micro lens array. Panasonic is using it in some of their models too. And like, that was a surprise to me. That was at CES beginning of this year. They're like, here are these televisions. They've got this new micro lens array that, basically all the light that was getting wasted, reflecting off the inside of the glass and going back into the panel that was generating it and scattering that light. All of that was wasted before. Now they can focus that light to come out of the screen. OLEDs are easily going over 1,000 nit peaks now, which means they basically don't have to tone map most of the HDR content that's out there anymore. The whole fear of, you get an OLED, you might not even get 1,000 nit peaks. It's like, that's just settled. That's done and dusted, really easily reaching that now. And then on top of it, I was like, okay, if you're putting little lenses in front of the OLED panels, then doesn't that mean you're going to like reduce the viewing angles? But it was the reverse. It made the viewing angles even better if that was possible on an OLED, which were already really good. So I was like, there was no downside. It also meant when you're watching standard dynamic range, you could do so at the same light level, but using less power. So, I mean, it was just all positives. And even though it was only in the flagship series from LG, like guaranteed that's coming to their most popular C series. I think in 2024 is my guess. I have no knowledge of this. My speculation is it will. If not, then definitely by 2025. And, Samsung is going to add it to their quantum dot OLEDs without question. I can't see how they wouldn't at this point. It's just so tremendously successful. So yeah, I had no inkling that was even coming. There were no hints in 2022 that was even a thing on the horizon that was going to happen. And here it is in a product you can buy. And I think that was pretty tremendous. So
gigantic TVs are defying everything. Like inflation is not applying to gigantic TVs.
You're right.
I don't understand. I made the mistake of looking at the next size up from our OLED just out of curiosity. And I was like, that's it? That's all it costs? But what should we maybe? No,
it's not out of the question, is it?
77-inch. I looked at the 77, and the B level B classification was like $1,800 or $1,900. I'm like, hang on a second.
Yep,
it's crazy. And you get a $400 TV, covers half a wall. If you
absolutely,
home theater really is. Home theater really is. I don't want to say it's inflation proof, but the tech comes back down to us. Right. So it's like, we'll see it really expensive. And like everything Rob's talking about, like he said, it's like even a few years ago was $15,000, $20,000, but a few years before that was $50,000, $100,000. And you were like, exactly. Or it didn't exist. And then it eventually it comes down to us. So it's like, it seems like it's inflation proof, but it's not. It's just new tech is outclassing it. So that we get the benefit of that.
Yeah, that rate of coming down is increasing. Like it stuff will come out at $3,000, and it's like the next year it's $1,500. Like how? It's just in the big TV.
They're out of ideas though. It used to be like, you know what I mean? No, seriously. Like it used to be like we had SD, 1080p, then 4K. Now we're at 4K. They tried 8K on us. Really not working. So it's like,
they seem to be pulling back on that. You know what?
do?
I'm kind of thankful for that too. I'm kind of thankful they aren't actually just going full steam with 8K no matter what the market says. There is some response to the market. They're like, you know what? 8K just really isn't selling.
But that is the market. That's what I mean. It's like what the market said was, we don't want this.
No, but I'm glad they actually they're actually listening and responding to that.
They upgraded from 1080p to 4K and went, that looks the same. That looks the same.
Close.
We should all be thankful for HDMI CEC, because without HDMI CEC, what would we have to talk about?
What would our podcast be about
in home theater? Yeah,
that's true. Well, let's keep this rolling right along here. And, we have the representation. We don't have all the hosts from Brightside Home Theater Podcast because we just ran out of space on this little video chat of ours. But that pretty much is the only reason. We would have been happy to have Steve here along with us. But Brightside Home Theater, all about the sights, the sound, the scenes. We have to talk about what we're thankful for content-wise, and this is stuff that we've experienced this year. It didn't necessarily come out this year, but something that we're thankful for on the, do we call it software side, content side, whatever it is, stuff we were watching and enjoyed.
The experience side.
There you go, the
buddy.
experience side. Yeah.
There you go.
So why don't we come on back to Andrew? Haven't heard your voice in a while, Andrew. So what are you thankful for experience-wise?
So I'm actually going to go with a video game. And I don't play a ton of video games, but every once in a while I'll pick one up. And I started playing Forza Horizon 5 because I've got the Game Pass and it's free. And I've got a wheel and whatnot. And so I sat down, I started playing that. And it is one of the most immersive surround games I've ever played. The Atmos, the surround, the way whoever did the sound engineering in this really, I don't know if they put microphones in cars to get it that accurate, but it's as accurate as you can hear the rain hitting your roof when you're racing in the rain. And as you switch your views and you go outside of the car, they actually change the pitch of the car and the sounds of the car. So it's as if you're in the third person view. And it's really a cool experience. And, my adult kids have moved back home. So we've been playing, games together. And that's a fun thing to do, is to get together on a Saturday night and play this. And they were amazed. Because they've been around my home theater a while. But with the new subs and whatnot, it was quite the experience, to play that. So I was really impressed with that. And, it made one of my lists. I just updated a list on some of my favorite content for 2023. So it's going to make one of my content lists for that, because it really is a standout game for just how well it's engineered.
Well, and the other thanks piece, to it being like dynamic and controllable. It's not like somebody it's a static thing that was, put on a disc and you just play it back. It's like you can choose to alter the sound at any time yourself. And that really shows off what your system can do.
Yep. And you can tell, you can say that, you're in a home theater and, the type of speakers you have. So it really tailors it that way. So it, like I said, it's just a really great experience. And, I know DJ is going to agree with me on this one, but Maverick still tends to be a standout in my home theater. It's probably my favorite demo piece right now, mainly because it's such an awesome movie. I was a huge Top Gun fan back in the 80s, and I'm a huge Maverick fan. And I think that's that's going to be one of my favorite test pieces, especially for Atmos, because you can't get much better than jets roaring around you, and shooting stuff down.
It is certainly classic home theater demo material. There's no question about that.
215. I mean, that scene alone, it's just your side surrounds gives that a workout. When he does a couple rolls, it goes over your head. I mean, just that one scene off the top of my head, just. Whew. And
I mean, I've always said this. You'd have a big flashy display or whatever the case may be in your home theater, but when your seats start to rumble. That's when people that's what bass is. And, it's funny because, I had a fellow over and he was talking about, his subwoofers and things like that. And the best he's ever had was a 27 hertz, Klipsch. So I played some test material on my dual SVSs and he was like, wow, I've never felt my eyeballs wiggle.
I do like the jelly in the eyes.
Yeah.
Well, let's make our way across the line just like we did before. John, what are you thankful for experience-wise?
Yeah, so I saw this on the notes. I was trying to narrow this down from about six or seven choices. That there was some really good stuff this year, but for me, I think I don't know if you're ready for this, DJ. It's got to be Evil Dead Rise.
Really?
Okay.
Wow.
Such a great disc. I mean, it is awesome. John Wick 4, also fantastic disc this year. House
now that he is fully a live action cartoon.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the movie itself was a little over the, I mean, they're all over the top, but I mean, this one was really over the top. But I mean, as far as the home theater experience, it's
like how John Wick has had the same sort of, arc as the Fast and Furious movies, where the first one, they were like, we're going to use all practical effects. And the last one, they're like, we're
going to space in number 5.
Out of a cannon.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Wick's going to time travel. John Wick's going to go to the multiverse. Maybe that'll be the one to be next year. John Wick in the multiverse. Why not?
Yeah.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of recency bias because I just got Evil Dead Rise about a week ago on disc, and I was blown away by it. So, I mean, it's very much in the forefront of my mind right now. So that's definitely going to be it.
All right.
For me. Yeah.
DJ, how about yourself? You've got oodles, and you just talked about it for like ages and ages and ages, but why not regale us with maybe one or two of your top picks?
Oh yeah, 2. Yeah, it's definitely 2. Okay. What is it? How do you say? Barbenheimer?
Okay.
Definitely.
Yes.
I mean, that weekend, just out of it's like, was that marketing? Like, did they do that on purpose? Was it a matter of circumstance? Like,
there were people saying one of them ought to move before it became a beneficial thing to both movies. Yeah.
Right. But not only that, the movies themselves, and I know we just talked about it, well, now a few weeks ago, but Barbie is literally, it's a story about how everything is more than its stereotype. And the irony is how many people aren't seeing it because they think they know what the movie's about. So it's like you have that play, but then you also have a little of that going on with Oppenheimer in the story. Like, I've had many people come up to me after Oppenheimer in the theater and going, wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I thought there'd be more explosions. I'm like, it's history. Like, there were only 2 of them. And it was like, well, 3
there's
to be
a lot
fair.
of math that comes before the boom.
So but the actual main story of Oppenheimer, I thought both of these movies, the story part, and that's what I'm starting with here, is the story part is what makes these movies amazing and poignant at this time in the world. And what I loved about Oppenheimer is you have a lot of people walking around going, it's never been like this in the world for whatever reason. But then you see Oppenheimer and the entire movie is telling you that this has all happened before and it's all going to happen again because it all comes back around. It's like literally the opening of Oppenheimer is the ending of Oppenheimer, and they show you how it all came to, like, this is going to happen. And
it is Christopher Nolan. He must tell things out of chronological order, but yes.
No. But but it actually wasn't. It's like that. I don't want to spoil it for anybody because I know a lot of people are waiting to see it at home. And by the time this audio comes out, we will have it at home. And I'm expecting this to be my choice of the year because, I mean, if nothing else, we know Nolan. I mean, he's never put out a crappy home theater experience.
Yeah.
So
it is going to be 5.1 though, so I'm keenly interested in that one particular scene to see how the center height speaker that was used in the IMAX mix, how that gets brought to the home theater. That just on a purely technical level, I'm very curious.
Well, our rooms are smaller, so I'm got to imagine you can mix that. Much like Tom loves his Phantom Center. Why can't we do that too? So and we all use up mixing and stuff. So, but I've already seen Barbie at home, and that is, I mean, it is a great home theater experience.
It really is. Yeah. That's one that like you're happy to have the big screen and the good environment and the excellent sound. Yeah. It is worth it.
I would say the sound on that one, it's in the music. the bass notes in all the music is it's very tactile. For as much as, but appropriately so. It's not over the top, but it is very tactile, and it's like more so than I've experienced in other movies this year. Oppenheimer, I'm expecting not only the sound to be Christopher Nolan Dunkirk type sound when it's appropriate, because most of it is a more documentary style movie, but like we did last year with Everything Everywhere All at Once, and we have the variable aspect ratios, the world of the CinemaScope fans, my buddy Travis, is going to go bonkers, but I love what they've done, what Nolan did with the variable aspect ratios, literally having Kodak invent new cameras for black and white, IMAX, and I can't wait to see this, and by the time you hear this, you'll probably have heard me talk about how great it is, but what I saw in the 70 millimeter cuts and get that at home where they
as
go
much of it
from,
as we're able to. It won't be the entire thing, but as much as we can.
Right. But like what I'm talking about is like how pristine the picture was when he went to this certain cut. And then there were other cuts in the movie. Like all of a sudden they go back to a regular, it's not an IMAX black and white scene, but there was like extra film grain, of course. But then there was also like, it was a dirty piece of film. Like there was dirt on the film. Like you'd see a piece of lint on like Robert Downey Jr.'s nose.
Sure.
Right? Now, was that like for that documentary effect, but then when they went to the IMAX enhanced version and it was pristine, is that part of the story to show you here's what we're trying, there's a reason we went clean and perfect. So there's a lot to this story, much like there's a lot to the story. There's a lot to how he told the story. To me, this is multiple viewings in your home theater to be able to pull all that out if you're into that type of thing.
Yeah, it's worth a buy for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So,
sight unseen.
Barbenheimer.
All right. Why not? It was the most popular thing this summer. Lee, how about yourself? What's the experience that stands out for you this year?
Oh, the series for sure that stands out is Last of Us. Oh my gosh, that captivated me like not much has in recent years. I had to watch it regularly and finish every single one. I just don't do that much anymore, and that one got me. And I don't even care for like zombies. That's not my thing. But that was such a well done show.
Yeah.
The zombie action isn't the focus, it's the people and the experience and what they're going through and what it would be like. I don't know, man. I just loved it. I just, everything about it. I think everybody was so good, and I can't wait to see more of that one. And the effects, as a surround sound experience and as a 4K HDR experience, it was so well shot and everything. So I had to watch that at reasonable hours and not keep my wife awake, because every episode had to be nice and loud, reference volume, and it was fantastic. So I can't recommend that enough. And then also on the other end of the scale, I'm also very thankful for certain YouTubers and YouTube channels. I have become a huge fan of watching certain content on YouTube. I'm so tickled that no matter how detailed or specific your interests are, somebody's doing a whole channel on it. Yep. Whatever it is. And if you're careful with how you interact with the algorithm, it'll introduce you to the right stuff. And you will find ever more. In fact, it's gotten to the point where I found YouTubers doing stuff about like old electronics and electronic electric cars, space stuff. Tom mentioned the James Webb Space Telescope. So I have to be careful, because YouTube has guided me to people who are doing like hour-and-a-half long videos, and you can't watch so many of those, right?
Oh no. Our podcasts, how could we ever watch something an hour and a half long?
But imagine if there were a bunch of these and they were all this good, right? So,
let's all realize that Lee discovered boom boxes and YouTube this year. In case anybody's wondering what Lee did this year, boom boxes and YouTube.
Yeah,
that's right.
You asked what I was thankful
welcome to
for.
2001.
I'm here to tell you
that's limited content in the bathroom, Tom.
I guess so.
It's so much fun in the bathroom.
Wait till we get to the last one and it's on the toilet
behind you.
But here we go. One more content thing I'm thankful for is Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
And it's not because I'm a huge pro football fan. I watch some. As Tom will know, much to his chagrin on Facebook, I'm a huge Alabama college football fan.
I hadn't noticed. I blocked you.
Have you noticed? I might mention the games here and there. And the reason I'm so thankful for that is because they are, honest to God, setting the standard for the picture and sound quality of how football games should look. And I get so sick of the college games look terrible, if I'm being honest. Like
you should stop watching them for sure.
Definitely can.
And protest.
But like ESPN's in 720p. And by the time you take out all their bottom graphics for all the gamblers looking at all the scores across the nation, and then the score of your game, and then other little things, there's barely, it's like standard def, and the bit rate is always terrible. The compression is always terrible on football games. CBS, I don't know if this is true across the country, but CBS here is awful looking. Like football games do not look as good as the experimental stage of HD looked a dozen years ago.
Right.
It has gotten worse. And so to see like, I think the Amazon Prime Thursday Night Football is in HDR, right? It looks so good. It's that high bit rate without all the movement's so good. That's so important in a sporting event. So I'm thankful for that. And I want all the other networks, especially ESPN, to start doing that.
It would be nice if, as an NFL fan, you didn't need a spreadsheet to figure out which game is on which service and which availability. If there was just one place you could go for all the games, that would be kind of nice. But
that must be awful. At least for Alabama football, it's going to be ESPN or CBS. One of
they're doing the same
ESPNs.
thing in the NHL too. You know that, Rob.
And they're all like, doing that.
I'm like, where? Oh man,
I want more sports in HDR and surround sound like that. So good.
Yeah, for sure. So, Tom, what are you thankful for experience-wise this year?
Well, I mean, I'd like to get my home theater back. Let's start there.
Oh, sure.
yeah.
So I've been doing a lot of headphone and Bluetooth. I mean, I tell you what, I'm very thankful for a low latency mode on Bluetooth because it's been a real boon, so that lip sync kind of comes back together on some of these things that I'm watching. But recently there was the writer's strike, which everybody knows about, and what came out of that for me was there was clearly a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that none of us really knew about. And also, with the Marvel shows and some of the Star Wars shows, there weren't really showrunners, right? You weren't seeing, like, they were just kind of seat of their pants doing it. And, they had kind of ideas, and it kind of explained why there were like weird episodes where nothing seemed to be connected to anything else. And,
Are you talking about Brightside Home Theater?
Yeah, basically.
Perfect example.
So I am, the writer's strike and the actor's strike has slowed down content creation right now, which has given everybody kind of a breath. And I'm kind of thankful for that. I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to the fact because I have gone through and rewatched most of the Marvel and many of the Star Wars series that came out during COVID, basically, and they're not bad for the most part. I think they're pretty good, but the clear winner of all of them is Andor on the Star Wars side, and WandaVision on the Marvel side. And the rest of the series are good, but they don't have that that vision, that coherency that I think those shows really did. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. Like when they started announcing all these different shows, hey, this character seems to be pretty popular, we're gonna give him a show. I'm like,
yep.
I'm all for it. Honestly, as a longtime comic book fan, I don't think I could have told you that the Guardians of the Galaxy existed, much less who any of them were, because I just never heard of that comic. That the comic never crossed my radar when I was a kid and a young adult. But I certainly was happy that somebody did something with it and they loved it enough to do something great with it. And I think that you could do that with any Marvel property or any Star Wars property. I certainly, when they talked about Andor, I was like, that guy, I didn't even like that guy that much in that movie. Like, why am I watching this? But it was great. And it was much better than I expected because somebody cared. So coming up, what I'm looking forward to after I get my theater back is hopefully content that is just better. Just, really, really written and directed by people and created by people who care. Because when you do that, even if it's not the best it could possibly be, it's usually, at least you can sense that there's something there. There's some real care, some real love, some real respect for the characters and for the world that's going on. And I'm really looking forward. I'm looking forward to that. I'll be honest.
I know you, Tom, have been holding off on watching the second season of Loki until you have your theater back.
Yes.
And I am in full agreement with you doing that. From what you've just said, I predict you are going to very much enjoy the second season of Loki, assuming they stick the landing on the last episode, which hasn't aired at the time that we're recording
this recording.
It might all leave a bad taste in the mouth if the last episode is really, really poor. But the music has always been a standout in Loki, and that is well worth hearing in a really nicely tuned home theater. And the editing this season has been like amazing. It is so beautiful the way that they've like these tracking movement shots that blend right into the next scene. Like, I don't know if that was pure planning or if it was just a magical editor who found exactly the right frame to make that transition, but there is some really standout stuff there. You
can look back at the Marvel shows that were on Netflix and, good or bad, how you felt about them. The first season of Daredevil, I really feel like you could sense that everybody that was on that show was really trying to make a great show. Yeah. They didn't have much money. They were like, okay, we got no money. We've got no money for episodes 2 through 6. So, we're gonna have to like stretch this out. But I want to feel that with more of these shows. And because I think like Star Wars and Marvel to a lesser extent, but Star Wars in particular, there's just so many fans. There's just so many people who love it. And it's, there's a lot of people who are going to complain about it. There's a lot of people who are going to, criticize and consternate over every single decision that's made. But in the end, if you make something good or something that it wins out. That will overcome all of that. So
I'm just waiting for Ezra, a Star Wars story.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. Ezra, episode 1, shoot him into the sun. Episode 2, let's talk about a different character. So
I think you might not dislike the live action version of him quite as much as the animated version. That's fine.
The animated version was very annoying. But
actually, I agree with you, Rob. I think you're going to enjoy his live action form.
There was just a whole lot less of him, so there's that.
Yeah. But the actor was.
I didn't
really
want to say that, but yeah.
So I'll wrap up this section of the podcast here with my picks for the experience. Now, this is a movie that came out in 2022, but it was new to me. I didn't watch it until this year, and I had to remark on it, which is Pearl, which I know is not going to be like, oh, blockbuster expected one. It's, a horror film, or ostensibly a horror film, but I was absolutely blown away by this movie. It's the favorite thing I've watched this year. And look, I adored Barbie this year, and I really appreciated Oppenheimer, and there's multiple series that I really enjoyed, but Pearl just surprised me in how much I loved it. And it's not some kind of home theater bravado like experience that way. Honestly, the thing that everybody is going to pick up on is one exceedingly long monologue where they just locked the camera. There is zero movement. There are zero other sounds. There is no one else on screen. It's just Mia Goth acting her butt off, and it is utterly remarkable. And so I can't praise that movie enough. I loved it thoroughly. But I did want to mention a series that I really did enjoy, Silo on Apple TV Plus. If you're going to sign up for Apple TV Plus for just a month and make your way through a couple of the shows there that you can binge through, Silo is definitely one. I have always liked that sort of mysterious sci-fi bent type of show with really good performances and tight writing where they knew where they were going with the show. It's based on a book. They didn't meander too far from the source content, and stand out from top to bottom. Loved that series. And since I'm wrapping up this section and no one else actually mentioned it, the namesake of this episode here, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, what a beautiful movie.
I haven't seen it yet.
I know. Yeah, that's
so
another
bad.
one. Tom's waiting for so many things.
This theater has been down for so long. I'm so. Everybody's
That was in March.
You haven't seen this? Why haven't you seen this? Yeah,
Wasn't it?
Wow.
But I mean, I can
early.
watch that Gwen Stacy intro to that movie. I can just watch that on repeat over and over and over and over again. It's everything. It's the sound. It's the beauty of the art. It's the voice performance. It's the emotion. I could just watch that. I can watch the whole movie and over and over. But if I don't have time for that, I can just watch that intro on repeat. It's one of the most gorgeous things I've seen. So high hopes for the
those
third.
drums kick too.
Oh,
Those
fantastic!
That's a great opening sequence.
Well, this podcast is running way longer than we expected, but coming from AV Rant, we always answer a question. We've got a question for the group. We each need to weigh in on this. And basically, just pose to us, what do each of us want to see come to fruition in our own home theaters next year in 2024? A personal goal, a piece of content that you're really looking forward to, a piece of gear you're eyeing to purchase. What are we looking forward to? What are we hoping we're going to be able to say in next year's Thankful podcast that we're thankful for, but it's a prediction for next year? And why don't we just stick with the same order? Because that way everybody gets to sort of have their time in the spotlight in a more even fashion. So Andrew, coming to you first. What do you say?
Well, I've been a listener of AV Rant for quite some time, and I've methodically gone through year by year and replaced certain things as I could afford to. And, I'm finally at the point now where I have, all of the gear that I want, and I've got my room treatments and things like that. So now I'm building up just what the room looks like. And I've recently gone on a huge quest to get all these helmets. So I am Ezra in real life, and I have an entire wall of Black Series helmets behind. And I sent a picture to Tom.
It's disturbing.
Yeah. Because I have adult money and a wife that's I have adult money and a wife that's very patient. So I have all these Black Series helmets. So what I want to do is I want to build Death Star panels that are basically full floor to ceiling acoustic panels, but have the Death Star cutouts. And I want to build that behind it. So it will look incredibly cool because I'll do lights and whatnot to make it interesting, but it will also have some actual functional stuff in my home theater. And the other thing that I want to do is, and I probably won't because Tom knows how lazy I get. Well, when I
don't think you're the lazy one, man. Oh man,
No.
the amount of content you put out there
Andrew,
on AV Gadgets, I do not think you're the lazy one.
What I'll say is when I first started this, I was the person that would bust out the microphone and run Odyssey every time I moved a chair. I'd be like, I moved a chair, let's run Odyssey. And now I'm to the point where Tom is pretty much beaten the sense into me to say, are you really gonna, are you gonna go run direct because you moved a chair or whatever the case may be? So I say I want to try Room EQ Wizard, but it just seems like a lot of work to do, and I probably won't do a lot with it.
On people.
Yes, but
I can assure you, there's some tedium involved for sure.
And that's my problem is this is, and I say this in a lot of my articles, this is my hobby, not my obsession. And I thought about getting, Room EQ Wizard, and I thought about getting a mini DSP. And then I'm like, my room's pretty damn good the way it is. It sounds awesome. And am I really gonna eke out that much more to spend what would essentially be weekends? And like you said, agonizing about squiggles that don't mean anything. That's my problem is I don't want to agonize about squiggles. So I think I have a goal to bust out Room EQ Wizard. I don't think I will. And I do think I will build the Death Star panels because I'm a nerd at heart and I love Star Wars. So that's something I can actually see myself doing. And then Tom shaking his head, going, you're an idiot.
No, I think I like the Death Star thing for sure.
Yes. And for people that, which is pretty much everybody, I know Andrew hasn't seen Andrew's stuff. And like Tom said, he's got those, it's not disturbing to me, but Andrew's very gifted in what he does. He's very detailed artist for what he's doing. So when these Death Star panels are done, it's going
look for
to
the
be
article
something.
on AV Gadgets because he's going to write it up. That's for sure.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's like I've seen his work on stuff like this, and it's amazing, and it's fun to do it in your own theater too, right, Andrew? You look back and go, there we go. At least somebody appreciates it. Me,
Absolutely.
So, John, what's the plan for your theater coming up?
Yeah, this would be pretty quick. I've been looking to add Illumigen into my system for about a year. Haven't been able to make it happen yet, so I'm hoping to be able to make that happen next year. Not sure that we'll be talking about it next year at this time or not, but if not, it'll be my goal for
one kidney
2025. So, yeah, I've got one kidney left. So yeah, that's it. I'd love to add one in, and hopefully I can make that happen. So,
If nothing else, it'll give you too many options to tinker with. But there you go. It is the hobby.
Yeah,
well,
it is.
It can, but it can also simplify everything too, so that you don't tinker with anything, right? So now you get
everybody. Don't listen to the Lumigen drug dealer over here.
Oh no!
All right.
No.
Just
Nope. If you listen to my show, Tom, I tell people if you don't see a problem,
listen
don't
to
get
my
one.
show. He's
actually
I know.
been more pushing me not to do it than to do it, to be fair. So it's my stubbornness that wants to do it. Not his.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
When it's a thing you just want to do, none of us.
Yeah, I don't even know how much
of
how much I'll see, but it's just something I want to do. So
it'll be just enough that you're like, well, got to save up a couple $10,000 more and get a Mad VR and compare.
Exactly.
That'll be what happens to John. DJ, how about yourself? What's coming up?
Well, for people that don't know, I'm building a new house.
Right.
So, which means I'm getting a new theater. And everything's new in the theater. Everything. Leaving the old theater to my son, all new, which comes with it more FOMO than I ever thought I could have. And I haven't even started doing anything yet. And I talk about that all the time. I'm like, I'm worried about stuff I can't even make a purchase for months from now. But anyways, what I'm most looking forward to and want to see to come to fruition, which it will, and I was just talking to him the other day, taking my dad to the movies again. So that's how I started doing all this. He took me to see Star Wars, and next thing you know, in the 80s, you're all like, hey, I got to recreate this. So him and I were just talking the other day, and he's like, it's kind of embarrassing, but he just saw the 3 John Wick movies, so he thought he'd call me. And he's like, I just saw those 3 John Wick movies. I was like, oh my God, where you been? But he's like, they were amazing. And it's like, so, but he didn't really see a lot of movies. He doesn't really take in a lot of movies. But when he does take in something he likes, like The Last Boy Scout, he loved that movie. And that was one he called me about. We actually went to the movies together to see Gran Torino. We saw the Clint Eastwood. Yeah. So it's stuff like that. And then, of course, Star Wars. And the other one he took me to when I was a kid was Rambo First Blood Part 2. And to have my theater and just be like, Dad, come on down the stairs, because he's going to have his side of the house. And to be able to do all of these, like I bought Equalizer 3, and I told him this the other day. I go, I already have Equalizer 3. And I'm waiting to see it with you. And he goes, it's not out yet. I was like, Dad, you have no idea about our systems. I got it. Don't worry, buddy. I got it. But he's just, I can't wait for him to come down those stairs and just be able to, like I said, take my dad to the movies again. Liam Neeson movies. Jeez, he just can't wait. He loves all of these like action, fun, sarcastic people, or he just loves that stuff. And to be able to do that with my dad. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to hearing about it. So I've got my fingers crossed for you, man. Oh, I know it's coming. Well, Lee, let's come to you. What is what's on the horizon for your theater coming up?
I doubt we will add any new hardware, but if you remember a few minutes ago, I was talking about how I made the mistake of looking at the prices of 77-inch OLEDs and found out they were not that expensive. And I've been thinking for a little while, it's like, oh, my speakers are awful old. And, those Yamahas the Yamahas from the year 2000. Yes, and you can see Tom already rolling his eyes about my 20-something-year-old Yamahas. But they're pretty darn good.
I will buy those from you just so I could burn them in my front yard, just so I could set them on fire.
And don't think
send
I haven't
the video to you on loop. Every video, every YouTube channel you go to will start with an ad for me, targeted specifically just to you.
You're going to become part of the algorithm and guide me to better speakers. Right. Well, it was Tom's home theater that gave me the first spark of thinking about different speakers, but it's been a few years. That first time we visited Tom and we watched Guardians of the Galaxy 2, I think. Yeah. And I just remember thinking, I'm understanding vocals more than I normally do. And I'm like,
the audio file of the group over here.
Right. I wonder if maybe it's the speaker. So I've been thinking about that.
I wonder if maybe it's the speakers, the man said.
I like to say whatever gets Tom the most riled up. Yeah, obviously it's the speakers. So, but you have to hit that point where okay, if I'm going to do this, it's got to be good, right? And I'm not going to half-ass it. It's got to be like some quality speakers. And that's a chunk of change. And it takes me a lot of time to spend a chunk of change. And so, it's going to take a minute to think about. And also, I'd like to find a better way, and this is probably something I can talk to Rob about later, to play the video and audio that we have on our home computer network on the TV more easily. Because all I really have right now is I just plug my notebook in. And whatever my notebook can do. But I want something I need a little teensy computer. Yeah. I need
Are we coming full circle on this podcast? Because we're back to NVIDIA Shields again.
Yeah.
Talk to Andrew about it.
Hey, Andrew, guess who's getting an NVIDIA Shield?
maybe that's what I need to do. Because that would be nice. Because I was talking to DJ on his Epic podcast recently about home videos. Not just old home videos that I've digitized from videotapes, but things I make on my phone. And there's just not a nice, easy way to get them on the good TV. I mean, you can, but it's some trouble, right? Yeah. But I need something that can integrate all that, the old videos, the recent videos, things I might download, all that. And so, some sort of Plex situation, some sort of NVIDIA Shield. But you get stuck in your ways, and I got my little notebook, and I plugged the notebook in.
The man just discovered YouTube this year, so it's going to take him a little while to catch up to this.
Dude, it's going to take me a while. I'm excited about my jam box on the toilet. So what can you say?
You could download them all to YouTube and then just watch your own YouTube channel.
Right.
But that's a lot of effort. It really is. I've done a little bit of that. It's a lot of effort. And also just content-wise, I can't wait for more Last of Us and For All Mankind. So that'll get me back on Apple TV.
Don't hold your breath on Last of Us in 2024, because it certainly does not seem like that's going to be able to make it next year.
I think For All Mankind is Friday. So
is it Friday? Oh, I might have to get Apple TV pick up. And I suppose the other thing I'd like to do in 2024 is stop paying for so many streaming services.
Right.
It's creeped up on us, and we have 5 or 6, and I'm like, okay, I can't watch that much content. Not when I'm watching my YouTubers for an hour every night. So something's got to give there, and I'll report back next year what we got rid of.
Well, I mean, we know that Tom has one very, very obvious answer for hopes and plans coming up home theater-wise for 2024. But perhaps what else? A little more specific.
Well, I'm actually really looking forward to reconfiguring this theater slightly. I mean, obviously the couch has to stay in the same location. The screen has to stay in the same location because I'm not moving all the speakers that have in-wall wires run and everything else. My wife she more likes orientation it's in right now, except that it's not practical. So that is with the long way being the width instead of the depth. So I'm like, no, we just can't
Nah.
Can't do that. We can't do that. But I am going to be like moving around the panels and reconfiguring some of that. And I'm very much hoping, and I know it's not going to come to fruition, that my wire management will be better this time around. Because it usually is such a horrendous mess back there. And I'm hoping I'm going to be a little bit more sane about where I put my rack, because I had it kind of tucked up into a corner, and it made it impossible to add things or to get behind the receiver at all. But one of the big things is I've talked to my wife about it enough times now that she's starting to understand that this is the last bulb I'm buying for this projector.
Mm-hmm.
This will be the last one. So when this bulb, and she's like, well, how much time we have left? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, probably a
2
couple
years.
Yeah. But I mean, I bought one a year ago or more. It might even be more than that. Was the last bulb I bought. So we've got some time left on this bulb, but not like a ton. But going back to what Rob was thankful for, these big screens are just so attractive. Just so attractive as far as their size now, or it's finally getting to the point. Because right now in my on the wall, like flush to the wall, it's 92-inch screen.
Right.
And it's plenty big enough. So it really, 77, 82 off the wall on a piece of furniture out a little bit into the room.
Yeah, like an 83, 85 that's a foot or two closer to you is not pretty similar field of view.
So, that's super attractive. And I'm looking forward to that. And will it happen this year? Maybe. It might. I'm certainly going to float the idea as we are doing this renovation and getting everything set up. And I'm like, it'd be nice since we got everything all tore up. Why don't we go ahead and put the flat screen in here? But
giant OLED, do it.
Well, that's what it would be.
Think of the money you'll save on HDMI cables.
Yeah, well, I've got an HDMI. I've got the HDMI cables. I just need the TV. Believe me, the cables are not the issue.
Well, I know that Tom is following his own advice, because when there was some like very shockingly affordable, good 85-inch LCDs, and I kept bugging him by a text. I'm like, here you go. Here's another one. He's like, no, it's good. He's like, he's not going to go to the 3/4 measure. It's like, I know it's going to be an OLED if Tom gets a flat panel.
That's the only option. Yeah, I'm not going to do anything else. And I already seeded this whole idea with her, so she knows it's coming. But she's like, well, how much would that cost? I'm like, $5,000. And at the time, $5,000 for an OLED that was like a 70-inch OLED was about, or 72 or whatever it was about right. And I knew we were still a year off. I'm like, the prices will come down. So I now I've got that kind of budget in her mind to play with. And
I mean, not if it's
I think
8K.
it's a reasonable budget. Well, yeah, I ain't worried about no 8K.
Yeah, I don't think.
One of the very first articles I wrote on AV Gadgets is 8K displays are stupid.
Yup.
That's
well,
to be fun when you get one.
To wrap it up from me, speaking of OLEDs, so back when I had my Flood, which is quite a while back at this point, but the OLED that I had, which was just a 65-inch OLED there, but it got damaged in that. That is the television that I lost going through that. So got the insurance, replacement money in that, and didn't actually get a replacement OLED because I was waiting to see what the advancements were going to be, and I wanted to go up in size. So I fully intend to have a micro lens array based OLED, but since I've waited this long, now I'm kind of just waiting to see, okay, like if MLA comes to the C4 series, and that'll get announced at CES if it's going to happen. So that's close enough at this point that I'm like, okay, because the G3 series, still a little pricey at the 77-inch size, particularly in Canada. And that price has definitely come down throughout the year, and Black Friday sales and all that, it's going to come down further. I might end up pouncing on a G3. It's not out of the question, but given how close CS is going to be, I'm like, yeah, let's see where those 77-inch micro lens array OLEDs end up price-wise. So that is the intention, to have one of those. Then, just like Lee talked about, this ever-increasing price creep that's going on with all of the various streaming services. Yeah. I have definitely on my Plex server, and I had a Zapiti Mini, like the least expensive Zapiti system that there was. I had that because, Tom's gonna get a fantastic time to roll his eyes here, but it's because that was the way to be able to play 3D discs without having to go through a whole rigmarole to make it something that was compatible to play through a Plex system. It was very easy to play 3D disc backups on a Zapiti system, and the Zapiti Mini was really affordable, a kind of a impulse purchase on that one. So yeah, I mean, a little birdie tells me that I should probably be getting a Zadoo for Christmas this year. So that'll be the replacement to give me a way to keep playing all that. But I've basically let my at-home backup hard drive system kind of lapse. I haven't been keeping up with that too much because I really have been just sort of relying on the convenience of streaming. But the whole price increase and getting to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to pick a couple of ones that I keep for the whole year, and then the other ones are going to be on a rotating basis where I'm canceling one a month and bringing in a different one. I've kind of gotten to that point. I'm like, okay, I should put a little effort back into my my own media server type of system. That would probably be worth my while at this point. So that's the plan for the coming year, as far as I'm concerned. I am looking forward to Monarch, which is coming out this year. The whole Godzilla universe. I think that could be fun. I'm looking forward to that one as far as content goes. I hope it's a nice home theater demo. So there we go. Yeah, look at us. We're going over an hour and a half, or I don't know if the recording. We talked a little while before we started recording this, but it's been a while on this call, and I think we have definitely done our due diligence in terms of our annual crossover thankful event this year. So big thank you, Andrew, John, DJ, Lee, and Tom. Thank you all for coming in and joining us and getting together this year. It's always a blast. Hope our listeners enjoy it across not just our two podcasts. Why can't it be everybody out there who hasn't even found us before?
Everything.
Come on in. Yes, everything across all multiverses. Absolutely. DJ, any last words you wanted to say here to wrap it all up?
No.
Dead silence all of a sudden. What happened?
Perfect.
We
asked him
you
a
out.
Star Wars question. Is that what you did? Asked him a Star Wars man on the street.
Oh, yeah, from earlier.
What do you think about right now? Nothing.
All right. Nothing. No, I thought we were going out. I was like, what do you want me to say? Because Rob, you get me going. We'll be here another hour and a half.
We are not going to do that, so we're going to chop it off right there. We're going to be thankful that I did so. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Andrew, why don't you start us off with our sign-offs?
Now go push play.
Go out and listen to this.
Hey, Fred. This has been a Hey Fred production with theme music by Jeff Bernhardt and Throne Vault Productions.